Hi guys, thanks for joining us. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about private contracts. My name's Raphael, I'm a legal assistant here at Winright Law.
I'm Robert, I'm an articling student at Winright Law.
I'm Winston, a lawyer at Winright Law.
All right, so we'll go ahead and begin with the first question today, which is, what is a private contract? Maybe Winston can take it away?
Sure. So a private contract's one in which you don't have realtors involved. It's usually between just two people, buyer and seller. So it takes away the whole process of getting a realtor involved.
All right, yep, thanks Winston for your answer. Rob, do you think now that private contracts are more common these days, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Generally, because you don't involve a real estate agent, you obviously save a lot of real estate commissions, which can be obviously very costly. I think the general standard practice in Vancouver is 7% on the first 100,000 and then 2.5% on the proceeds or the purchase price on the remaining amount. So if you have like a $2 million property, that works out to be something like $54,000 of commission, which obviously a buyer and seller can save, right?
Definitely. I mean, if I'm going to purchase a property, I want to save as much as I can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that's a huge incentive these days because the market's just getting more and more expensive. And so I think you have a lot of people that are just trying to save whatever they cost they can. And they'll even approach the seller and say, hey, this is why you should sell your property to me.
Mm-hmm. Now, with this occurring more often, what sort of things do lawyers help with in terms of private contracts, and what do they do or what do they not do?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Real estate agents are typically the party that's involved in connecting a buyer and seller. But once obviously a buyer and seller have already been identified, lawyers can jump in and help prepare like the contracts that are used to execute the transaction. They might also be involved in the actual real estate conveyancing portion, so transfer of legal title from the buyer, for the seller to the buyer. And then also if there's any registration of mortgages or any financial charges that need to go onto the property, the title of the property, lawyers can also help affect that as well.
Okay, so what sort of things should a potential buyer and seller look out for when they're trying to negotiate between themselves with regards to their transaction?
I think it's important to figure out what kind of subjects that you need, especially for a buyer. We've seen a lot of contracts where buyers will just enter into contracts without really figuring out if they have certain subjects they need before they actually want the contract to be binding. So financing is a huge one. If you need money to purchase the property, well, financing should be a subject. You should obtain financing prior to actually making the contract binding. That's an important one that we've seen that could cause a collapse of the deal if you don't actually put it in. Other things that you want to think about are probably completion dates versus possession dates. Completion dates are generally when the contract closes or the transaction closes, money exchanges hands, title exchanges hands, whereas possession is rather when people move into the property, so the buyer actually moves in. So those are certain things that you want to think about that are pretty key to it. Do you have anything to add?
Other things that they should look for, maybe things such as, obviously without a real estate agent being involved, the buyers and sellers have to be, they have to note that they are actually acting as themselves. So any representations that they might make or any, any things that they say are, might be taken as representations that are imported into the contract or sale. So in the event of a dispute, just to be aware of what you're saying.